Today on Criminal Minds, we talk about the Season 12 premiere episode, The Crimson King. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV.
Hello.
Hello. We are here doing the Criminal Minds after show.
It's happening.
It's
this is real life.
Actually happening. I am so super stoked to do this show. I'm your host, Marisa Serafini. You can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV. Joining me, I have
Michelle Cullen. You can find me on Twitter at Michelle_Cullen.
Yes, I cannot tell you how obsessed I am with Criminal Minds.
I love this show so much.
And it makes me all giddy inside knowing that we're finally covering this show. I've been asking since day one, and now we are here, and we are here to deliver.
And we are here to talk about it with you and dissect it. So comment tweet.
Away.
Yes.
This is a brand new after show here at AFTERBUZZ TV, and we are super excited to finally talk about this amazing show. Criminal Minds Season 12. We're in 12 seasons already.
Oh, so
The
crazy.
Crimson King. A lot of great returning faces and then some new faces too. But, let's definitely get into it. We pick up where Season 11 ends off with that whole prison break.
Yeah.
We learn 13 serial killers have escaped, and now we've whittled it down to 5.
Yep.
Which is good. And
With that opening scene catch, Rossi pulls out that wonderful list and he's like, I do this old-fashioned. We have 5 left.
I love it from Rossi and his old good ways, and I think he's definitely a very friendly face to get the BAU back onto the screen. I really enjoyed that. But we do learn this new Agent Luke Alves.
Yes.
Played by Adam Rodriguez. What are your initial thoughts on this new agent and what dynamic he can bring to the show?
I think he comes from a very interesting background compared to the different people we've had in the past. We've had linguists join the team.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, what is Tara's professional job? What was her job before this? It's some clinical psychology with a focus on forensic and criminal serial behavior. That's a long title. She has a better title than that. I'm sorry.
She's an SSA now.
So Luke has the fugitive background, the Army Ranger background, military, and
He's also worked in Iraq.
Yep.
So he definitely has experience, and he definitely knows how to track down serial killers in that manner.
Yep.
So definitely he can add to what they need, because right now it's a matter of just tracking down the serials, because it's usually every episode the case is already presented to them, but now it's them going out to and finding these.
Yeah, it's an interesting take on it, because a case is presented to them, like you said, and they have to dissect the clues and figure out the profile from there, but they already know the profile, and they just have to track down a brand new behavior pattern with these, which is where he really comes into play and helps them.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what Luke has to bring, because he seems like a very straightforward guy. He does his job well, and he's very skilled at his certain things that he can bring to the table. But then he also seems like he has a darker side too, and his perspective and how he looks at tracking down the criminals that he's facing.
I agree with that. He calls himself a manhunter instead of an agent or a fugitive expert. And I think it's a different mindset that probably comes from being in the military. That's just an opinion and speculation. But he has his dark side. He also has a unique sense of humor, where Shamar's character, Derek, had a certain brand of humor. I think he's going to bring something brand new to the table. Like, still keeping that potential dark past and humor in the show, but in a new, refreshing way.
Right. I definitely think Luke Alves has a balance between the dark and the light, because we saw the dark with Hotch.
Yeah.
And I loved Hotch's perspective and how he tracks down these criminals. These criminal minds. And always saying, like, I'd rather them rot in a 5x8 cell knowing that they were failures instead of, going for the kill. And Alves just wants to kill them and be done with it.
Yeah.
So it seems like he has a more aggressive side, but hopefully that and his perspective will kind of change to a more instead of revenge, it'll be more justice.
Yeah, less emotionally driven and more just pragmatic almost. Not letting the pain of the past affect his life in the present and moving past that.
And yeah, and then on the flip side, his lighter side, especially with Garcia.
Those were great scenes.
They were amazing. And I can definitely understand why they wouldn't have Alves and Garcia like be immediately buddy-buddy, because those who were fans of Shamar Moore and Derek Morgan, like...
And Baby Girl.
They're like, no, we can't have Garcia have another boyfriend like that on that level.
Yeah, and I'm going to apologize right now because I forget the interview site that I read this on, but Kirsten just did an interview regarding the premiere of this, and she was talking about how it was important to her and her perspective for Garcia that she's still healing from Derek leaving because they were so close. So she's not being completely cold-hearted, but she's definitely not warming up to this new person in the office.
Yeah, and there was forgive me, I forget the source as well, but there was somewhere where I read where Kirsten Vangsness said that the reason why she gives cold shoulder to Alves so quick was that back in season 11 there was actually a deleted scene where her character says the next whoever takes his place, his being Derek Morgan, whoever takes his place, I'm going to hate them.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah, it's like you don't have, and then it's actually JJ and Reed are like, you don't hate anybody, and then Garcia's like, no, you're right, I don't, but that person I'm going to hate. So even that deleted scene adds information of why she's she's giving the cold shoulder to Alves.
Yeah.
So I think it's just by principle. That
on principle alone.
Yes, that she shouldn't immediately take to Alves.
Yeah. And in her defense, he's just temporarily joining the team on this one mission, or case, rather. On this one case to help track down who we think at the beginning is Daniel Cullen, which I'm not a fan of that being the name of the killer.
No relation.
No relation to this fictional character.
Just letting everyone
everybody.
know. But yeah, I think that's a good way to, let's talk about the actual case of the whole BAU, getting back into it. I think it was so great. And so in the vein of the show is just getting right back into it. Not a beat has been missed. And they're right back at it trying to find the next serial killer.
Yes.
And I think it's brilliant.
It's such a well-written show. And it's only gotten better as it's progressed to now the premiere of season 12. And I think it just showcases how well the entire team behind the show works together.
Absolutely. So we pretty much start out the episode where this man with an arm spreader is walking through the desert, almost gets hit by a truck.
That was terrifying.
That was. Ooh.
Did you get tense during the double swerve? I was like, one swerve is like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, and then it swerved again.
Like a truck fishtailing is never good.
No.
Especially when it's not winter involved. But that just looks scary. I was like, how is this coming into effect? But we learned that when he's in the hospital, he actually got carved with the letters BAU into his stomach, which already gruesome.
Yes.
But so now knowing this mystery guy who comes in, what did you think was going to come about this?
I wasn't sure what to expect because they saved the reveal of the BAU thing until after Tara and Hotch came down to Tempe, Arizona. So they immediately called in the BAU, and then once they arrived in the room, they removed the bandage, and it said that. So it was clearly a calling card specifically for this team, which was interesting because it was the calling card of a different serial killer that the BAU had no previous relationship with.
No, and so we learned that this guy who had the unfortunate circumstance of BAU being carved into himself, that his name is Brian.
Yep.
And he actually suffers from dissociative identity disorder.
Yes.
DID, which I did not see this coming either. No, I think it's so good how they write each patient. Like, a lot of times we'll get episodes of just serial killers with regular civilians who don't, like, suffer a mental disease or a personality disorder and whatnot. And the fact that this particular serial killer that they're covering is tracking down victims with DID, which, as JJ says, that's a small victimology pool.
Yes, and it was interesting, and it unfortunately kind of showcases my ignorance, because it makes sense that there would be camps and clinics where there are centralized populations of people with DID or other cases that... Oh, that was a horrible sentence. Okay. That there would be condensed populations within different areas in the United States where people with the same disorder or mental illness would be drawn to because of different camps in this instance, or clinical facilities, etc. Like, if you find a place that has a higher population of the target you're looking for, that's
a good target.
Yeah.
I found it very interesting how the irony more so of it, that yes, there's the summer camp that's helping these people, but in turn also was causing of their fate a little bit.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That's kind of the backhanded issue of keeping detailed records, I guess, although
it kind of worked against them.
Yeah.
But I think it was very smart to, because we also had, besides Brian, we also had this poor woman, Chelsea Carter, who was a part of, this whole plan, and she also suffers from DID, but she actually had a full mental break.
She had the complete dissociative break when he was trying to induce and create a different alter.
Yes, with the words Hutch in her forehead.
Oh, that was just... The stomach one was really uncomfortable, but the forehead one just freaked me out a lot more, and I couldn't really tell you why. I think it's a thinner piece of skin right on the cranium, just right there, and the reveal of that one was also
and
really effective.
Also, the more personalization of it, with just Hotch specifically carved into someone's forehead, which it's just eerie.
It is.
And definitely got the attention of just the BAU in general.
Yeah, and it showcases, once again, kind of reminiscent of the episode Mr. Scratch, which was terrifying. It was one of the most uncomfortable episodes, I think, in my personal opinion, out of all of the 11 seasons that come before this. And it really showcases Peter Lewis's attention to detail that they were referencing. He doesn't leave any room for error or variables. He plans down to the T, and it's just, he understood what that would do to Hotch, who was one of his victims before.
Yeah, and let's talk about the unsub and just the serial killers in general. How about we start with the regular unsub of this particular episode, Peter Lewis, who obviously has a history with Hotch, and Hotch being a victim of his. But we learned that from previous episodes that Peter was a math genius. He was one of those who escaped the prison.
Yes, he was one of the masterminds behind the 3 prison outbreaks that happened that released the 13 serial killers.
Yes, he was this sophisticated, but they realized during all of this investigation that it's actually someone else who's a sophisticated copycat of Cullen, who was Peter Lewis. Which it was just another twist in this show. I think there were just a few twists that I just did not see coming.
No, I watched it earlier this morning, and then I watched it again right before we did this, just to get all the details that I missed, because it really is such an interwoven, complicated story, which again just speaks to Peter Lewis as a character, and Bodie Elfman, I believe is how you pronounce his name, the actor that plays him. It's just, it's so well done.
Yeah, I think just all these episodes of Criminal Minds are so well done because there's just so much information packed into 45 minutes, and they speak it so fast.
Yeah.
Like, you blink, you will miss.
You will miss
something.
a key detail.
Like, I watched this episode twice, and I feel like I should watch it again just because I feel like I probably missed something else. But yes, so Peter Lewis is who they're trying to track down, and he got the attention of the BAU. But he's choosing these victims with DID disorder, inducing them, but creating a new alternate.
Which is so interesting. Just compared to what he did previously, instead of utilizing a traumatic thing that existed within their lives previously that they would have shared, he took the disorder that they shared and decided to create a brand new altar within them.
Which is very scary because they realize that this is a trial and error type of thing. So he's just going to keep going through victim after victim until he gets the correct, angry, more aggressive
Yep.
alternate, only to take out the actual serial killer.
I am intrigued to see, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm just really fascinated that he was also using the sevoflurane on Daniel Cullen and keeping him locked up to erase his memories of being a serial killer, injustice
collector.
Yes, injustice collector. And just what's going to happen. I kind of hope that's not just left as is, that Daniel Cullen is caught again. I hope his memories come back and more details with Peter Lewis, aka Mr. Scratch, come out of that, because it's interesting that he would drug a serial or an injustice collector to take
out a serial killer.
Yeah, to take him out and then take his signature and insert it into someone else, basically, just to see if he could.
It's very twisted.
That's terrifying.
It's very twisted to have someone with that ego go through something that extreme just to see if it will actually be executed properly.
Yeah, because he's not operating from a compulsion. He's just doing it.
Oh, yeah, because we learned that Peter Lewis doesn't kill himself. He has someone else do the dirty work for him, which is very scary. Just the lengths that he'd go to have someone else do all the nasty cutting and even inducing, which was creepy in and of itself. It seemed like I say this loosely, but like some sort of brainwashing, but more manipulating.
Yeah, and it is interesting. It kind of speaks to earlier cases of DID when it was formerly multiple personality disorder. I think especially in the early 1900s to mid 1950s
they said it's an updated
or something, but
multiple.
One of the biggest practices for discovering different personalities was hypnosis, and in many cases, including one of the earliest cases of DID from the 1800s, it's been kind of decided by scientists who review the cases that under hypnosis a lot of those personalities were kind of suggested. They weren't necessarily there. It was the power of suggestion that unfortunately sometimes plagues hypnosis practice.
Yeah, and the sevoflurane, as Reed said, puts you in a suggestible hypnotic trance.
Yep.
So that definitely correlates. I found it fascinating, as terrible as that sounds, but it's just really interesting how they took something that is used on a regular daily basis in like dental surgeries and whatnot. It's actually legal to use that, but it's illegal and immoral to use it on civilians in that manner, I imagine. But something that is so prevalent daily to use as torture.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable. That I'm just, and especially for someone like Peter Lewis, that was probably really, really easy to obtain.
Yes.
Absurdly easy to obtain that.
Because he had a bunch of resources already established before he even got out of prison.
He might be the creepiest character for me out of Criminal Minds.
So far, you
so
think?
Far.
Out of all of these seasons.
Out of all of these seasons, I'm trying to think of anyone else who's made me more uncomfortable than Mr. Scratch.
Ah, all right. I'll have to come up with
I'm going to brainstorm on that and see if I'm wrong. But so far,
That's like, the Reaper is definitely one for me.
The Reaper is terrifying. He's on par with Mr. Scratch, but he was kind of emotionally driven and had a compulsion.
Definitely. And I think the Reaper just like set the bar for me on like, okay, no other serial killer can match how extreme the Reaper was, and just the lengths he went to get after Hotch. Scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about a little bit of but Brian during, this Brian was one of the main victims throughout this whole case, being interrogated by Tara, which I loved that interview. How I miss the cognitive interviews. Now that Prentice is back, hopefully we'll see some cognitive interviews from that. But I liked how she got the information that they needed. The white smoke, which we learned was the sevoflurane, and but we also learned his past, Brian's past, that when he went to summer camp, he had 2 alternates that were women that we learned later on. That actually, that little tidbit helped him in the end.
Yeah, that was amazing how that tied back in, and how JJ and Tara utilized the key phrase that his alters said during his trauma.
His mantra that would help keep him calm.
Yep.
I think it was really just like, that was so subtle but so smart.
Yeah.
Because we learned from his parents that he had a traumatic past. He was adopted, but before he was adopted,
He had bottles broken on him, and then he was cut with the broken glass.
and then his self-inflicting trauma of opening up his own scars.
Yeah.
But the one mantra that always saved him was like, that's where they learned he had the DID, speaking as girls with his mantra.
Yep.
But they used that to help him in the end, too.
Which is good, because when his alternate personality of the Crimson King killed Officer Dewey, there was a very emotional response from the police chief of, we are going to shoot on sight. That is what we are doing. And Hotch was like, no, let's not.
Let's pump the brakes
He
a
said
little
it
bit.
in Hotch. He said it in Hotch terms, but for me, sitting watching, it's like, what if we didn't do that though?
Yeah,
what if we just stopped?
It seemed like that officer was act now, think later, you know?
Yeah.
And which I'm glad that Hotch was just like the voice of reason in all of this, like, and putting things into perspective, going in with a clear mind. And I think that's what Hotch is so great at. It's like thinking first and then doing.
Yes.
And it actually helped up, helping Brian in the end, because he didn't die.
Yeah.
And he was saved by JJ and Tara.
Which is good. I support that.
It's great.
Especially when you are dealing with a mental disability or a mental illness.
Yeah,
because they're already so stigmatized, and people are, portrayed as guilty for crimes that they may not understand that they've committed, or they may have committed in altered states, and they're not really provided the proper treatment or resources to defend themselves in those cases. So just even having people like the BAU team on their side and understanding that and making sure that the right call is made at the end of the day is really good.
And like actually genuinely cares for their well-being.
Yeah.
Because yes, Tara and JJ kept saying the line, no one is going to hurt you like that ever again. But then after they kept saying it, there's like, no, we promise it's never going to happen again.
And that's one of the great things about this show, is just the empathy that they feel. Because the last time that we had a case of dissociative identity was season 4. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Season 4, episode 20, Conflicted, which was in Miami, if I recall, during spring break when Adam worked in the hotel. And guys kept being murdered, and then we found out that it was Amanda, his alter personality, who helped him when he was dealing with trauma.
Yeah. I do remember that. Wow.
Yep.
Season 12. Or no, season 4. That was back in 2007.
Yeah, and then before that was season 2 with Tobias Hankel and Spencer's kidnapping.
Oh, I remember that too.
Yeah.
So many good episodes. This is such a good show.
It's such a fascinating topic that really has no bounds when it comes to writing, working with dissociative identity disorder. And it's also bringing awareness to the disease, which is, I think, a really good thing for that, especially when it was multiple personality disorder in the 80s and 90s. It was kind of seen as a joke and an excuse. And it was very hard to prove that it exists. And it still is difficult, but it's coming a long way.
Yeah, and even back in, back in that time, back in the 80s, not a lot of people had that much information about it. They didn't know. And I think nowadays with technology and just information presented to us, we're more likely to make it more serious and understand it better.
Yeah.
But back then we didn't. Therefore, we didn't know if we were supposed to take it seriously or not.
Yeah.
And what I did like the fact that you said, yes, there are a few episodes that cover the same disease, but they are different people.
They're so drastically different.
They're so different different personalities, different situations that happens with each victim, and I think that makes up for completely different stories, which is great too. And I think that's one of the things that Criminal Minds can keep going, because no matter what kind of serial killer we face, it's always going to be different.
It's always a unique story, and they make sure to bring out the details and have it maybe affect one of the agents more than the others and make it a little more personal in that way. And doing that every time, it makes it a fascinating 45 minutes that just go by way too quickly.
Way too quickly. With so much information.
Yes.
Really quickly. But what did you think of the twist in the end, another twist with the actual real Crimson King there? Because they did learn that if he's copycatting the Crimson King, he has to be tied to him in some shape. And they realize he's actually there. But did you see this coming?
I saw it the second time I watched it. I saw it coming because there was a quick cutaway to Peter Lewis drugging someone again, and at the first time I watched it, I thought it was a different victim other than Brian or Chelsea, and then I realized it was another victim. It's Daniel Cullen. He has him trapped, and he is squeezing information about him on how he does his crimes, including the arm stretcher. And I think that it was really unique and shows Luke Alves's attention to detail, that he went back to the evidence locker and was like, this is machine stitching. This is not what he does. This is how we prove that this is Peter Lewis, and And
I think it's really good that Luke Alves is that intuitive and can think those little details, because we learn throughout the episode that he's part of the fugitive task force. He's not really a full-fledged profiler. He likes the chase. He likes actually being in the action, tracking these guys down. Or women down. I mean, we've had some female serial killers. But we learn at the end that he's really connected to the Peter Cullen.
Yeah.
Which was pretty scary. We learned that back when they caught him the first time, 3 years ago,
it was his
partner that was actually in the act being tortured.
Yep.
Which, I mean, so there's that personal connection, and I definitely think that's really more fitting why he should be part of this BAU team.
Yeah.
Because it seems all of them are tied personally in some shape or form.
I think the thing that I'm curious the most about, if it's going to be answered or not in any of the upcoming episodes, is why Peter Lewis helped mastermind this massive breakout, and then kidnapped one of the other people that escaped, and basically tortured him and used him for his own means, and then left him to die at the hands of someone that he manipulated. And what the end game was from that, or if they interacted in prison at all, or how he came to choose Daniel Cullen out of the other 12 people. Just so many questions about that. Why those two together?
I think maybe we'll see with more episodes coming, because they still have to track down the rest of the serial killers. So maybe they all do have a connection that we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. But we also learned that Alves, because he's so emotionally invested with finding this guy, that he actually wants to take the time to be fully committed.
Yes, he officially joins the team.
And joining the BAU team. 560 hours.
Oh,
that's a lot.
That's intense.
That's intense. But, I mean, hey, if you think about it, it seems like we've actually watched 560 hours of content worth of the show.
Probably.
We could be profilers. No,
the amount of times
kidding.
that I have rewatched the seasons, I feel like that's probably accurate.
Yeah, but that detail makes you just appreciate how much time they actually put into studying all these profiles and all these cases and serial killers and becoming fully fledged profilers. Because JJ didn't start off as a profiler.
That's true.
She was just a liaison.
Yep.
But she took her time and went through the proper training, and she became fully fledged.
Yep.
So I think Alves is definitely a good asset to the team.
Yes. I'm excited to see when Paget comes back and
my
how he's going to interact with her and how she's going to interact with the team.
I'm very excited for Paget Brewster's return. I love Prentice.
She's been in Interpol for too long.
Yes, she has. But she did come back last season.
She did.
Because she got her guys stateside. That was great. But I think she just adds another, friendly face to the BAU that we kind of need, because it just feels like a family watching all of them again.
Yep.
And yet it could be, I don't want to say intrusive, but it could be unusual to have someone who's hasn't been a part of your team and let them in such a tight-knit group. But they're all family, so
yeah,
I think Elvis definitely can fit into the mold.
And I feel like there are definitely some comedic, lighthearted moments coming where he's learning how to fit into that.
Yeah, well, he had some comedic moments with Garcia.
The opening scene with them where he asked what she was doing this weekend or how her weekend was, and she said she spent it with her super hot boyfriend, and he taught her fingering techniques on the clarinet because that is what I'm practicing. And what did you do?
Hung out with my boyfriend who's super hot and awesome and totally in love with me. I'm like,
I love that. Yes.
So good. Fingering techniques. It's hysterical. I just died.
And the delivery was so great.
It's brilliant. I'm actually I'm okay if Alves and Garcia spend a lot of time together. I mean, it won't be anything like Derek Morgan and Garcia, but if that's their relationship, the flirty kind of ridiculous humor and banting at each other, I'm all for it.
I think that's going to be fun. And I feel like it's going to continue at least for the next few episodes, and then maybe midway through the season they'll warm up to each other. Or they'll have a moment where they have to work together no matter what, and they become friends in that moment.
Yes. I'm down for the quips.
Yes.
And
more
the
quips.
wittiness towards each other. I like that. It's fun.
It's good.
And I think it was great to end the episode like that, too, because there was moments of levity between those two.
Yeah.
Which are seemingly right now the lightest people of the group. But, there was the other, not to jump back a little bit, but just the whole concept of getting the BAU involved with all these serial killers and how they got baited into this. We learned that there was a prank phone call under JJ's name.
He is on a warpath.
Yeah.
He has a vendetta for this team and Hotch.
The whole team. Yeah, the whole team, not just Hotch, but prank phone call from JJ. And then when they bought the arm spreaders,
Rossi Avenue.
Yeah,
Yep.
54321 Rossi Avenue. And when they bought the arm spreaders, it was under Dr. Reed's name.
And it was
his
more
social
than
security.
Yeah, it was his entire identity.
Wow.
It's just
so just knowing he can get down to that information, what else does he know
without
about
hacking Quantico? Because the last time he hacked Quantico,
he did,
and that obviously got fixed.
Not happening again.
But he is a genius. I think that he is not going to be caught until the end of the season. I think he's going to be not to move into predictions unless we're ready for it.
No, let's go to predictions.
All right, we're in predictions. Sorry.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
So that was one of my questions I was actually going to ask you. I was like, how long do you think it'll take them to actually catch him and all the other serial killers they still have to catch?
I think Peter Lewis is so smart, and he's going to play this cat and mouse game until the end, and then probably be the season finale. That's my feeling right now with how much he baited them and how he was in control the entire time of the situation, and he just left and wasn't even remotely in the same room when they were close. He is very much in control. I think he might take the other remaining serial killers that are at large and offer to help them and then continue to manipulate them, because I think that's just his game.
Yeah, okay. I think I don't want to say he's going to last the whole season, because we've already seen one episode of him. I think I mentioned the Reaper before because he lasted pretty much a full season.
He did.
And he was scary enough. And I think Peter Lewis, because we know so much information about him already just within 2 episodes, I think it'd just get tired if they spread him out throughout the whole season. So I want to say they're going to wrap him up within 2, maybe
Okay.
3 episodes.
Okay.
Because it seems like he does have a deeper connection to Hotch, especially, Hotch being a victim
Yeah.
and torturing him. I think he might have it for Hotch, which would be really
That's
bad.
poor Hodge. He's
Poor
had
Hotch.
quite the unfortunate journey in this job. They all have.
They all have in certain different forms.
They've all been through crap.
But they love torturing Hotch,
Yeah.
which is very
I feel like
unfortunate.
that's like Heavy is the head that wears the title of captain of the BAU
Yeah.
for commanding.
But I think Hotch is the strongest one mentally out of all of them who can take it.
yeah.
Yeah, because, it took him a while after the Reaper, but he managed to bounce back. And I don't know if he'll be able to manage to bounce back after Peter Lewis.
That's true.
And I don't want to say he won't, but I'd like to see where that would go.
Yeah. I'm also, this isn't so much a prediction as just wondering what's going to happen, but we see Peter Lewis at the end circling the name Devin Holt
Yes.
with an address in New Jersey.
Desmond Holt
Desmond Holt
in Tennessee.
in Tennessee. I
6'9"
can't read the screen.
694 Ryan Street, Franklin, Tennessee. And I'm like, is that the next victim?
So we're going to Tennessee at some point.
We're going to Tennessee. Or is he meeting up with other serial killers
Maybe.
that also broke out too? I don't know. It could be.
There's just so much. There's so much to speculate
It
wildly on.
could be. But I love the quotes that every episode has at the beginning and end, both from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And if you guys wanted to know, anger is my meat. I sup on myself, and so shall starve with feeling. That's William Shakespeare from the tragedy of Coriolanus.
Yes, Volumnia
From Volumnia.
Said that
characters
line.
in Act 4, Scene 2. And then
This is what you have to look forward to. Both of us
This
just
is
doing
how
so
nerdy
much
we are.
research. We are going to do this
is
every
how
week.
nerdy. Seriously, my notes are an FBI profile. They're categorized in tables. And then the end quote was, "The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones." From Julius Caesar.
William Shakespeare.
Really, Shakespeare.
What a wordsmith.
He knows.
He knows.
And that's from the character of Antony, Act 3, Scene 2. But I'm really, really excited. My predictions, I think Hotch will eventually catch Peter Lewis, Mr. Scratch, and he might want to leave because he probably just wants to spend more time with his son, Jack.
I think that's fair. I think him leaving at some point to spend time with Jack is kind of the same thing that Derek did. He got married. He had a kid on the way. He went through heck.
Oh, he did. He did.
He
But
needed to take
he
a
needed
little
to leave.
time.
And I think they might go the same way with Hotch, too, because it just reminds me of the finale of season 11. There was that moment where Hotch was worried about Jack, and Jack was, very dismissive. He's like, you're just doing work. I'm like, and Hotch got to that point where he realized his work is really affecting his son.
Especially the last time we saw Jack was when Hotch was swatted. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
that's a traumatic experience for Jack at
Any-
that age.
yeah,
because
any
he's
kids,
11.
really.
Yeah. I had a thought and then it went
And
away.
then Prentice returns.
Prentice
We
returns.
see her in the preview of next week.
Jane Lynch was confirmed to come back at some point this season, so we're going to see
Yes.
Spencer's mom again, and it's so excited. She's so wonderful.
I love her, and good for her because she got busy with her career,
Yeah.
Glee and everything.
How dare she?
Because
No.
the last time Jane Lynch's character was in the season was season 4,
Yeah.
and that's literally the following year she got Glee. So, and her
So-
career just went from there. I'm really excited to have a lot of people that we love, characters that we know and love, return.
Yes, and I'm excited to learn more about Rossi's dating life with his ex-wife and see more of his family and
Yeah.
have more of those great moments that really balance out the horrible things that they have put on their tablets that we then witness them solve.
Yes. And, we're just very looking forward to this season.
Yes.
And just the show in general. I love Criminal Minds so much. I live tweet it whenever I can. And it might sound crazy just how much I love this show because it is so dark and twisted, but it's fascinating and it's brilliant.
It is, and I think I'm so happy we're finally doing this after show because now I have an excuse for all of the nerdy research I do to learn new things that come up in that show.
Yeah.
Because now I can share it with you guys.
Yeah, and now I can read sociology books, not just for fun.
Not just for fun, guys.
Just for fun. All right, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching and listening to us. We will be here every Thursday dissecting Criminal Minds. It's going to be an amazing season. Where can everyone keep following you?
You can find me on Twitter at Michelle_Cullen.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV. That's Serafini TV. You can follow all of us here on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those fun social media platforms at AfterBuzz TV. Rate, comment, tell a friend. This is a brand new after show here at AfterBuzz TV, Criminal Minds. And so many people have been asking for years for this after show, and we are finally here.
We are here.
So thank you, everyone. We hope you keep tuning in, and we will see you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Let's deliver the profile.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.